us tonight. Our presenter for tonight's event is Megan Devold, the Executive Director of the Blue Zones Project in the Walla Walla Valley. I'll let Megan take over.
Hey. Thanks so much, Twyla, and welcome everyone. I have a slide up here for language selection to be able to select the correct language channel. If anybody has any questions or concerns with this, please let us know. We have Inez here, who's our Spanish interpreter. Is everybody good to go for language? Looks like it.
Instruction in Spanish. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Si usted está llamando de una computadora, por favor busque el icono que dice que es el globo terráqueo. Seleccione el canal de lenguaje que quieres escuchar. Si quiere escuchar en español, por favor escoja el botón que dice ES, que quiere decir español. Si por alguna razón usted está llamando desde un celular, entonces tiene que hacerle clic en los tres puntitos que dicen más. Elija el lenguaje que quiere hablar y oprima donde dice listo. Okay, Rebecca, can you assign me as an interpreter?
Thank you, Inez. Are we ready to go?
Still need to be assigned as an interpreter.
We good to get started? Yep. Okay. Well, welcome everyone and good evening. And thank you again, Twyla and Walla Walla Public Library for inviting us here to share about Blue Zones. As Twyla said, I'm Megan Devold, and I have the pleasure of leading the Blue Zones Walla Walla Valley project here in Walla Walla and College Place. Blue Zones Project is a community well-being initiative focused on making healthy choices easier within our neighborhoods, workplaces, schools, grocery stores, restaurants, and much more. So before we get started, we're going to do a longevity quiz. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And if you can answer yes to a question, please keep track of how many yeses you have. This quiz was developed by the University of Minnesota to gauge how long people will live. So everybody ready? Okay, there's 7 questions, so it's not too long of a quiz. Do you move at least 30 minutes a day? Do you get at least 8 hours of sleep 5 nights a week? Do you eat an honest 3 servings of veggies a day? Do you have 3 friends you could have a meaningful conversation with and call them if you're having a bad day or a good day? Do you belong to a faith-based community, however you define that, and attend 3 to 4 times per month? Have you not smoked in the last 5 years? Keyword not smoked. And do you have the desire to live to a healthy age 90? Okay, so I hope you kept track of all your yeses. So if you answered yes twice, your life expectancy for a man is 68 and life expectancy for a woman is 72. If you answered yes 5 times, life expectancy for a man is 77 and for a woman is 81. And if you answered yes 7 times, life expectancy for a man is 88 and for a woman is 92. So our goal with the Blue Zones Project is to help everyone have more yeses. And this presentation, it'll be about 30 minutes long, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So please write them down or add them to the chat. So before I go on, Blue Zones Project wouldn't be in our valley if it weren't for our incredible sponsor, Adventist Health. Adventist Health has been a large part of the healthcare community here in the Walla Walla Valley for many years, and it's with their generosity and vision in large part that has brought the Blue Zones project to the Walla Walla Valley. Well, why did we really bring it here, even though there was a sponsor, right? Well, before the COVID-19 pandemic, here in the US, we've been a major healthcare epidemic. It's getting harder to lead a healthy lifestyle. We spend more per capita on healthcare than any other country. However, this investment is not paying off, as we are significantly sicker than most. 69% of our country's population can be classified as overweight or obese. And while we may be living longer than previous generations, we're living more unhealthy. So for the first time, it's actually projected that our children's life expectancy will be shorter than that of their parents. And how did we get here? We're so fortunate to live in this wonderfully resourced country. However, we live in an environment of abundance and ease that encourages unhealthy choices, and we're bombarded with unhealthy messages every day. We've all driven around the block a few times to get the parking spot that's a little bit closer to our destination, just to not have to walk the few extra minutes. And I certainly don't need to tell you that even before the COVID-19 pandemic, we had issues with connecting with others, and there was increasing amounts of loneliness and isolation. And COVID-19 has just made this worse. Here in the Walla Walla Valley, we've seen similar trends. In addition to what you see on the screen, 1 in 2 people do not exercise at the needed levels. 3 in 10 are not proud of their community, and 1 of 3 have worried about money in the last week. Here at the Blue Zones Project, we're confident that we can help make the Walla Walla Valley a healthier, happier place to live, work, and play. So it's not all doom and gloom, and there is a bright side. In the 1999 Danish twin study, it established that 80% of longevity is determined by lifestyle factors and the environment in which we live. So while only 20% is determined by our genes. So this study shows that your family medical history does not have to be your personal destiny. And the environment around us has a far greater impact on our ability to live a longer and better life than the genes that we inherited. And since I did not necessarily inherit the healthiest genes from my family, I'm thrilled to know that I can actively do something about it by enhancing my environment. And I'm so glad that Blue Zones Project is here to be part of this journey. So the Blue Zones Project started with one man's vision. National Geographic fellow and explorer Dan Buettner traveled around the world to find where people lived the happiest and healthiest the longest. He named the areas he found Blue Zones and published his results initially in the National Geographic in 2005. Dan found that the people living in the original Blue Zones areas didn't live longer or better because they had superior access to healthcare or the best doctors. Instead, their environments naturally help them prevent disease from ever occurring in the first place. So we're going to take some time to explore the lessons from these communities and learn why they're living longer and happier and healthier with lower rates of chronic disease and a higher quality of life. So that by the end of our exploration, you'll learn how we can change our environment and improve well-being right here in the Walla Walla Valley. So let's explore. Our first stop is on the island of Sardinia, about 125 miles off the coast of Italy. Sardinia has many sandy beaches like this one, but it's actually in the inland wooded mountainous area that Dan made its discovery. When Dan traveled to Sardinia, he found a population of more than 10 times healthy centenarians, which are people who live to be 100 years old or more, and the greatest concentration of male centenarians in the world. So that's 1 for every 250 births. In America, we find roughly 1 centenarian for every 6,000 births. So we can learn quite a bit from Sardinia, I'd say. So why does this island have so many centenarians? For one, the highland areas of Sardinia are home to shepherds who live a lifestyle that demands a great deal of natural movement throughout the day, the key being consistent, low intensity physical activity. This gentleman pictured here is clearing brush as part of his workday. In addition to moving naturally, Sardinians eat a largely plant-based diet of fruits and vegetables grown in their own gardens. They eat meat a few times a month and in much smaller portions than we Americans typically eat. Each portion is about the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand. Sardinians also drink a little red wine every day with their friends and family. Their homemade Cannonau wine has the highest level of flavonoids, which are antioxidants, of any wine in the world. Antioxidants are important because they reduce the risk of many diseases, including heart disease and certain cancers. Fortunately, we don't have to go to Sardinia to have Cannonau wine. Grenache wine is widely produced in the United States, and it's a favorite in the hot, dry climate of the Walla Walla Valley. Grenache is actually the same grape as Cannonau. It's just called a different name. So we can enjoy the same benefits right here in our valley. Lastly, in Sardinia, and this is something I just love, there is a positive attitude towards aging. As community members get older, they're celebrated. They're respected as contributing members of the family and community. With that, let's continue on our journey to another island or set of islands. On the other side of the world, we find the second blue zone area in the small grouping of islands of Okinawa, Japan. This region is home to the world's longest living female population. Not only are they living longer, but they have the longest disability-free life expectancy in the world, and they're living 7 years longer than Americans. This community includes 5 times as many centenarians overall, 1/5 the rate of breast and colon cancer, and 1/6 the rate of cardiovascular disease. The last 2 statistics I mentioned are really important because here in the United States, 80% of Americans over the age of 60 will develop one of these diseases in their lifetime. Nothing kills more Americans than heart disease and stroke. More than 868,000 Americans die of heart disease and stroke every year, and that's 1/3 of all deaths. These diseases take an economic toll, as well as costing our healthcare system over $200 billion and causing nearly $150 billion lost in productivity every year. This is according to a 2018 study by the American Heart Association. Another contributing factor to Americans' decline in health is that we're lonelier. According to the Framingham Heart Study, isolation and loneliness is harmful to our health and contributes to the rise in cardiovascular disease. Just 20 years ago, the average American had 3 close friends. Now that number is closer to 1.5. So, what are Okinawans doing right? The Okinawan culture is committed to close social networks, often known as moais. Moais are small groups of people who gather for a common interest. In Okinawa, they are usually formed in childhood and lifelong friendships are cultivated. And these lifelong bonds ward off loneliness because you have a support system who will be there for one another in good times and in bad. The women pictured here have been in their moai for 97 years, and their average age is 101 years old. In addition, like Sardinians, Okinawans observe a largely plant-based diet. But it's not just what they eat, but also how they eat and how much they eat that sets them apart. They eat mindfully, they have smaller portions, and before they eat, they recite a 2,500-year-old Confucian phrase, Hara Hachi Bu. That's Hara Hachi Bu, which roughly translates to eat until you're 80% full. For many, this practice of stopping before coming full is the difference between losing weight or gaining it. So speaking of plant-based diets, let's head to another blue zone. Loma Linda, California, which is located about 60 miles inland from Los Angeles. Loma Linda is populated by a large concentration of Seventh-day Adventists, not unlike right here in the Walla Walla Valley. Due to their incredible health statistics, Seventh-day Adventists have been the subject to one of the largest epidemiological studies in America. This study, which is funded by the National Institutes of Health, has tracked over 101,000 Adventists for 30 years. And although people in Loma Linda have similar surroundings to other Americans like us, they live up to 10 years longer than the average American. So why are the folks in Loma Linda living longer than the rest of us? As seen here, this active Loma Lindan woman prioritizes healthy behaviors, making them part of her daily routine. In addition to regular exercise, Loma Lindans are the 3rd blue zone population that eats mostly a plant-based diet. Their dietary practices are adapted from Old Testament teachings. And they also have faith-inspired lifestyle behaviors with a really strong focus on family and friends. They surround themselves with like-minded people that support and encourage healthy behaviors, and they take their Sabbath very seriously. Every Saturday, they spend time downshifting by engaging in all types of activities other than work. They actively practice letting the stress of the week go and being grateful for the gifts that they have. Individuals in this community also have a strong sense of purpose that stays with them as they grow older. This is Mr. Wareham. He celebrated his 100th birthday on October 3rd, 2014. At that time, he was still driving on the freeway, mowing the lawn, working in his yard. When this picture was taken, he was 97 and building a privacy fence around his property. He wasn't very happy with the $6,000 price tag to have it built, so he purchased the materials and built the fence himself. The next day, he found himself in the hospital, but he's not the one on the operating table. He's the surgeon on the left. Dr. Wareham was one of the earliest doctors to practice open heart surgery in the United States. And although he retired from operating in the surgical unit at age 74, Dr. Wareham continued to mentor and assist residents in his free time. So in addition to the regions that we've explored, Dan Buettner and his team found what they believe are the last two Blue Zone areas, the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica and Icaria, Greece. Dan spent time in all of the Blue Zones to find out why the people lived longer, happier, healthier lives than the rest of the world. Throughout the 5 Blue Zones, Dan found some common traits in how they ate, their personal outlook, and their overall lifestyle. These findings have been documented across various media outlets and in several publications, starting with the New York Times bestseller, The Blue Zones, Lessons for Living Longer from the People Who Lived the Longest. Whew. We have supplied the library with copies of all of these books, and we'll be doing a cooking class highlighting recipes from the Blue Zones kitchen in February. More to come on this. So Dan organized all of the common traits from the Blue Zones into what he named the Power 9 lifestyle principles. And there are easy, small steps that anyone can incorporate into their daily lives to feel better, live longer, and be happier. The Power 9 principles cover a holistic view of health and wellness. These tips help the rest of us live like the people in the Blue Zones. The Power 9 emphasize how to increase social connectedness, eat wisely, have a right outlook, and move naturally in our daily lives. At the top of the circle, we find moving naturally. Moving naturally includes going for walks, standing rather than sitting, riding a bike, doing housework, gardening, anything that gets you up and out of the chair. It doesn't mean you need to join a gym necessarily. It just means you need to move more. Moving clockwise, the second section is right outlook, which includes downshifting and de-stressing, limiting or properly coping with stress, reduces chronic inflammation, which is tied to most age-related diseases. Also, having a strong sense of purpose, which research shows adds up to 7 years to your life, and then using that purpose to give back to the community through service and volunteering. Next is eating wisely, which includes practicing Hari Hashibu, or the 80% rule, eating a largely plant-based diet, and maybe enjoying a little red wine while connecting with friends at the end of the workday. A social hour. Speaking of social hours, connection. This is the foundation upon which all of the other principles rely. Having a right tribe, surrounding yourselves with like-minded friends. Now, this doesn't mean surrounding yourself with people who tell you what you want to hear, but people who have goals and priorities in line with yours so you can support and encourage each other. Putting your family and loved ones first, and having a strong sense of faith, however you like to define that, and engaging that with that community each month. So now we're going to explore how Blue Zones Projects helps to create a culture of well-being based upon these lessons. So Blue Zones Project works to improve what we call the life radius, the area around the person's home where they spend most of their time. In the original Blue Zones areas, residents make healthy choices because those choices are easy, even unavoidable in their surroundings. So instead of focusing on just the individual, we focus on optimizing the environment and more specifically, your life radius. And the life radius is the area around your home and work where you spend the majority of your time, pretty much 90%, right? So within this area, we focus on 3 main areas: people, places, and policy. So before we move on, I want to make sure we're all thinking about well-being in the same way, at least for today's purposes. We know our health is mostly determined by lifestyle, not just our genes. So how can we create the best life possible? The solution revolves around your well-being. The World Health Organization defines well-being as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmary. Thus, our focus is to not just live longer, but to live better. So let's explore how we impact the people sector. Blue Zones Projects engages people in activities that change mindsets and habits in lasting ways. We bring people together to connect and practice healthy behaviors through walking and potluck moais and cooking demonstrations. We also offer purpose workshops. When community members can identify their passions, talents, and values, they uncover their sense of purpose. Once this happens, we help people find ways to volunteer or put their purpose to work, hopefully to enrich their lives and the lives of others around them in the community. Our connections to friends, family, and those around us have the ability to shape our lives and impact our health, happiness, and behaviors. So Blue Zones Projects helps people cultivate positive social networks based on interests. When all of these things come together, what results is a healthier culture that embraces Power 9 principles for living better longer. As an example, the lady on the right in the sunglasses is Arnett, and I'd like to share a story with you about her. She's from the Beach Cities community in Southern California. And a few years before this picture was taken, Arnett was having a tough time, to say the least. She felt disconnected socially in her community. She was in a job that she enjoyed, but it was a solitary work environment, and she had recently lost a loved one. Arnett was longing to make changes in her life, including quitting a 40-year smoking habit, but she just didn't know how to get started. At some point, she heard the quote, "If you don't know what your purpose is, give. Just start giving." She heard about the Blue Zones Projects and signed up to be a volunteer at a Blue Zones Project community event and hit the ground running from there. She met other community members who enjoyed volunteering and that found that feeling of social disconnectedness starting to go away. She learned about the Power 9 and began eating a plant-based diet, moving more and surrounding herself with people who supported her and shared her passions. She continued to volunteer and gained a newfound sense of purpose. She even kicked her smoking habit with the support of family and friends. And while I don't know the other community member in this picture, but I am certain by the look on Arnett's face that she is now leading by example and spreading joy everywhere she goes. Also from the Beach Cities communities is this group. This group met at a Blue Zones event and started a beach walking moai, and they've been walking 4 times a year ever since 2012, or 4 times a week ever since they started in 2012. Their moai includes 13 people, and the ages range from 40 to 80. And they've become friends, and they're there for each other in good times and bad. And this is what makes the concept of moai so special. You can share a common interest like walking, cooking, or having purpose, and that brings you together. And then you get to know each other and form close-knit connections with friends who look out for you. Speaking of healthy habits, scientific research has revealed that there are tangible rewards gained when helping others, sharing knowledge, and preserving resources in the community. Purposeful volunteer work lowers levels of stress hormone cortisol. Heightened levels of cortisol increase the amount of sugar in your blood, which leads to inflammation, which is associated with every age-related disease. So the benefit of having a sense of purpose and volunteering is a major contributor to longevity. This is a group of Walla University students who volunteered to help clean up under one of the underpasses in town. So let's continue to explore the second area of the life radius, which is places. So to improve the places you go in your daily life, we work with a critical mass of organizations to make permanent changes to their environments and adopt policies that will nudge people toward healthier choices. When you think about the places that you visit most frequently in your life radius, which is about, 10 to 20 miles from where you live or work, the list you see on this slide materializes: schools, work sites, restaurants, grocery stores, and civic and faith-based organizations. So let's look at some examples of how we work with these organizations, beginning with the work site. So earlier I mentioned that for the first time in history, it is projected that our children's life expectancy will be shorter than ours. But the Blue Zones Project Beach Cities community has taken action to make sure that that prediction does not come true. Across the Redondo Beach Unified School District, K through 5, they saw a 64% decrease in obesity as of 2016. Schools are such an important partner in every community, and we believe this is one of the most impactful ways to prevent our next generation's life expectancy from being shorter than our own. And we can achieve this through programs like building school gardens, altering cafeteria design and menus, implementing walking school buses, and not using candy or treats as rewards, but, offering kids, a couple, 5 minutes extra recess or time in the library, or my daughter would go for that in a heartbeat, or even lunch with a teacher, just something else that's special, but it doesn't have to be candy or a treat. And we can instill healthy habits for our youngest citizens that are habits that will follow them as they grow. So in Southwest Florida, the Blue Zones Project team worked with the Naples County Community Hospital to make small changes to their environment and culture that's inspired employees to feel better and do their best work. And some of these changes have included adding healthy vending options, creating a walking trail around the property, and forming potluck and purpose moais amongst the staff. And having a healthy work site to employers who care about well-being is critical for overall community well-being. And not only does this benefit the employees, but also their families and everyone else downstream. And you can see on the slide here some of the improvements that the hospital experienced by becoming Blue Zones Project approved worksite. So we also work with restaurants to make healthy choices easier while you're out and about. The Buffalo West restaurant in Fort Worth is known for its ribs, steaks, and upscale comfort food. Yum. But by offering healthier options and really just emphasizing the healthy options that they already had, they saw, a 70% increase to their salad bar and their lunch business. Their price per person didn't drop either, which is excellent. And they had a 20% revenue increase from 2016 to 2017, right after they implemented these healthy choices. And so it actually makes it so that, if you have a group of people and somebody wants a healthier option, that everybody has a choice wherever you go. And we're talking about eating healthier at home. It really all starts kind of at the grocery store and also in the kitchen. And we have a kitchen remodel class that's coming up this Sunday that's focusing on setting up your kitchen to make healthy choices easier. And it's all the information's on our events page where you found this information for tonight's event as well. But I mentioned it also starts at the grocery store, and we work with grocery stores to help shoppers make healthy choices. And this is a grocery store in Hawaii, and they have 1/3 of their grocery stores are now Blue Zones Project approved. And their goal is for all of them to become approved. But they've actually seen a great increase in the sales of natural foods and in the sales of produce, which is wonderful. And you can see here that while offering healthier options at restaurants and grocery stores and promoting well-being programming at work sites and schools, it's great for the individuals, but it's also so wonderful for the organization itself. Employers have seen healthcare costs cut, higher productivity, and a stronger sense of belonging at work, thus leading to better retention and employee happiness. And well-being work, it benefits all of us, which leads to our final area of work, which is policy. So Blue Zones works to implement healthy policy changes in communities in the areas of built environment, tobacco policy, and food policy. And built environment is defined as like structures around us, like parks, sidewalks, bike lanes, etc. And we believe that this is one of the most profound ways we can improve community well-being. City and county policies impact everyone in the community, regardless of whether they are aware or engaged with Blue Zones Project. And these policies are long lasting. So we've partnered with existing initiatives and our local community leaders to determine ideas that will work for our community. And this is really what sets Blue Zones Project apart. Where traditional health improvement programs rely on behavior change alone, Blue Zones Project takes a full mental approach, that really includes that full life radius to improving well-being. And our goal is to move a community toward better well-being, reduce the risk factors that impact healthcare costs while improving the economic and social vitality of the entire community. But it's kind of tricky sometimes because you have to know how it's working. So some of the policy progress measures yield that we've seen in other Blue Zones Project communities are really amazing. And we've been able to learn from their successes, and we've been able to learn from things that didn't necessarily go as well. Here in a moment, I'll share all the other Blue Zones Project communities, but other communities have seen reduction in smoking rates, which then contributes to reduced healthcare costs and exposure to secondhand smoke. They've seen improvement in property values, an increase in pedestrian traffic. They've seen an increase in natural movement through trail usage, all improvements that were set in motion through policy change. So as I mentioned before, we get to learn from what other communities have done. And Walla Walla Valley is the 57th Blue Zones Project community, with 4 additional communities in Northern California coming on board through the sponsorship of Adventist Health. And there are more to come. And before we end, I want to highlight an amazing success story. A short time after Dan Buettner published his findings in the National Geographic feature, he decided to put them into practice. He posed a simple question: could the world's 5 original Blue Zones become a blueprint for changing well-being across America? Could we take these same preventative measures, the Power 9 principles, that occurred naturally in certain environments and implement changes to achieve the same results? Could we change an entire community's environment? We've looked separately at people, places, and policy, but let's see what happens when they come together. So in 2009, Dan Buettner's team approached a town of 18,000 people in Minnesota called Albert Lea. And this was the first Blue Zones Project demonstration community. A team of experts came in and listened to ideas from community members from improving the community's overall well-being. And working from the Life Radius model, the community implemented citywide programs in grocery stores, restaurants, and schools, as well as programs for individuals to get involved. And in February of 2010, Dr. William C. Willett, a professor at Harvard School of Public Health, published an article outlining the work done in Albert Lea, and he remarked that the results were stunning. In a society that is conditioned for unhealthy behaviors, we agree that these changes really were extraordinary. So the community members accrued a collective 25 million steps and lost over 7,000 pounds, boosting their life expectancy by a projected 3 years. They've seen a 23% drop in smoking, and they jumped from 68th to 45th on Minnesota's healthiest county rankings. This was proof that we needed here in Walla Walla Valley. It turns out that we wanted this as well. And in fact, creating a healthier environment using the Blue Zones Project Power 9 principles is a reality. So other communities across the country began to take notice. Soon, the Blue Zones team was expanding into one of the largest cities in America, Fort Worth, Texas. And since the project began in 2014, Fort Worth has seen significant improvements, and you can see some of those on the screen. The impact has also been seen in other communities across the United States. A Blue Zones project community in southwestern Florida has ranked the healthiest nation for the 3rd year in a row. And they saw a 10% risk reduction over a 5-year period in the beach cities. In Dodge County, Beaver Dam, Hornicon, and Juneau, all in Wisconsin, they were all recognized by the University of Wisconsin. I was going to say University of Washington, but that's not right. Population Health Institute for silver level designation. And lastly, our neighbors down in Klamath Falls, Oregon, they're a community with a history of low health rankings. They received the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Culture of Health Prize. And I am really excited for the Walla Walla Valley to be on this list for some sort of amazing prize that we will earn here in the next couple of years. because our vision here in the Walla Walla Valley is that we aspire to improve the well-being of everyone in the Walla Walla Valley, community by community. And we've already gotten a lot of work going. We've done a lot of policy work within built environment and food policy and tobacco. We have a lot of organizations on board, including the City of College Place, City of Walla Walla, Walla Public Schools, College Place Public Schools, Valley Residential Services, Andy's Market, and many others. And we've done so much fun programming. Our team member, Rebecca's on the call right now. She's our engagement lead, and she has been running crazy, ramping up community programming here and over the last year. And we've had so much fun doing it. And we're so glad that you're here tonight. And, we've had so much success in 2021 that we're just really excited to be kicking off 2022 with some pizzazz. We are going to see some work sites get approved. We're going to see some healthy recommendations at restaurants and grocery stores coming through. And we're going to have a lot more programming. We're going to have cooking classes, walking moais, purpose workshops, and everything in between. We're going to have it all. And I'd love for you, if you can, to enter into the chat at some point tonight, something that you'd like to see maybe Blue Zones Project do in 2022, or even a way that you'd maybe like to get involved. And one thing that you can do is on February 24th, same time, same place, we're going to do a virtual cooking class using the Blue Zones kitchen. And I will say one of our members that's on the call today is actually in this photo. Hi, Beth. And we're really excited. We're going to highlight 2 recipes from the Blue Zones kitchen. And we also have we gave some cookbooks to the library, and they're going to be giving those out and everything too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So overall, we just hope that you join us, because as you can see, by engaging our friends and neighbors and optimizing our life radius, we're able to make healthy choices more accessible, achievable, and sustainable, which equals lower healthcare costs, increased productivity, and a great way to live, work, play, and learn. And here on the slide here, we have a link to our events page, and I'm actually going to put that in the chat so you can see it. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we're going to hop over to Lindsay, and we're going to do a couple giveaways tonight of some crock pots. And so I'm excited to actually get to see you all too, because I've been in presentation mode. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we can hand it over to Lindsay to do our giveaway. Lindsay, are you ready?
I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
We sure can.
Awesome. We're going to get going then.
Oh, I'm excited to see this happen.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I'm trying to determine.
That's okay.
Sharing the screen. All right. So can you guys see the spinner here?
No, but we trust you. Well, I can't.
Okay.
Can anybody else? Maybe I shouldn't speak for everyone.
Okay, but I'm just going to say Chris Oliver.
Yeah.
I've got this handy spinner. Chris Oliver, you just won a Blue Zones cookbook.
Woohoo, Chris! Woo! Awesome.
We're going to do another one here. All right, Beth. Also a winner.
And what did Beth win?
The crock pot, I believe.
Oh, Beth, you won a crock pot. Emily will be so jealous. Awesome. Cool.
All right.
Do we have any others, Lindsay? Or are we good?
Unless, I believe it was the two. Is that correct?
Okay, good deal. I was just making sure. Wonderful. Well, I'm just looking in the chat here, but would anybody like, if you raise your hand or anything, Rebecca can unmute you. We had it kind of in presentation mode. Does anybody have any questions or anything that we can answer? I'm looking in the chat. And Molly, I'm excited for you to get involved too. Papa's Pastores is my absolute favorite breakfast. That does sound good. Pressed by bacon and eggs. I know they've got bacon and eggs has a lot of healthy options. That is for sure. Okay, well, is anybody, I should look at my chat down here. What events are coming up? Oh, I'm going to share my screen and I'm just going to go to our events page. You might see some craziness on my screen, so I apologize. Share and, oh wait, I don't want to end my slideshow though. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I need to get out of my slideshow. We have actually some great events coming up. This weekend. Rebecca, do you want to share about the cooking class that you're doing with, or the kitchen makeover you're doing with Leslie this weekend? While I bring up our events page.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I would. And I'm also going to put in the chat our link to our events page, so you can go directly there too. So this weekend, I am opening up my personal kitchen, which is really scary, to Leslie Snyder. I don't know if any of you know her in town. She's fantastic. She's a nutrition coach. She's also a fitness guru, and she's been in the community for a very long time. And she's going to do a kitchen makeover in my personal kitchen. So she's going to help. She's going to help us learn how to set up our kitchens for a healthier diet. But really, she's not so interested in diet so much as she's interested in a healthier lifestyle. And so she's going to give us 3 main tips on what we need to do in our kitchens in order to do that. And then also she's going to pop into my pantry and upgrade the snacks that I already have. And I promised her I wouldn't clean it out because she's going to find some fire Cheetos.
No, Rebecca.
They're my kids, but she's going to find them. And but she's going to teach us, how to switch those things out for healthier options. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if my teenagers will be, but I will definitely be excited for that. So that's coming up this Sunday. And we also have some, I noticed that somebody in the chat said they were interested in, there we go. They were interested in doing a volunteer, and there's a whole bunch of volunteer things coming up. We've got, we're going to be at the BMAC food sorting bank on February 1st. We're going to be there on the 10th. And then later in the month, we're also going to be at the Christian Aid Center, making sure that we're cooking food for our friends and neighbors so that nobody goes hungry. Because in addition to eating healthy, we want to make sure there's food equity in our community and that everybody has a right to healthy food. So we've just got a whole bunch of stuff coming up and I can't be more excited about it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm really happy to answer any of those for the events. Yes, Karen, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Here, did that work? Ask to unmute.
No.
Do you see?
My audio.
There you go.
Audio. Haha.
Ha-ha.
I haven't seen that before. No, I can't remember my question. What were you asking?
What was I asking?
Yeah. Shoot, I had
I
it.
made a
Something
comment
you
to her that in order to get involved, I'd like to actually sit down with somebody and see some of the things that I might be able to do.
Yeah, that would be great. We are more than willing to sit down and chat with people. We can do it, in person if you feel safe doing it that way, or we can set up a meeting with you or a phone call. Just let us know, Skip, how we can communicate with you, and we'd be happy to do that.
Okay, so my question was, I'm assuming we're on the list now, so we'll get emails about stuff.
We will definitely, after this chat, or excuse me, after this, I'm going to send you guys our newsletter that's going out tomorrow morning. So you guys will all get our newsletter.
And I'm sure you've got a Facebook page, so I could do that, look on that. Okay.
We sure do.
Okay. Do you have any things that couple like we moved here a year ago to be with our grandkids?
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, we didn't forget how to shovel snow, so it worked out for us.
But we did have to buy a snow shovel here.
But anyways, I was wondering, do you ever do anything like with grandparents and grandkids?
We can. We don't have anything right at the moment that's specifically for grandparents and grandkids, but we do have a lot of events coming up in the community where grandparents and grandkids can participate together. So for instance, we'll be doing some stuff with the Walla Walla Sweets baseball team coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And some swimming, hopefully some swimming days at the swimming pool. We also have some walking moais, which you learned about the moais, the close-knit groups of people.
Yes.
You can certainly do walking moais with grandchildren and grandparents. That's a no-brainer right there. So there's a lot of opportunity for that.
Yeah, that's where we met at the cemetery for a walking group. We had no idea it was Blue
With
Zone,
Melanie.
but it worked out nicely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Melanie, who's in the chat here, her walking moai group has gone for 3 sessions. Is that right, Melanie? I'm gonna unmute you. 4 sessions.
Oh, that's
Okay, I'm gonna ask her to unmute.
Okay.
Oops. I think you're still muted, Melanie. You weren't. There you go.
Okay. I think it may be 4. I'm so glad, especially this time of year, because we're down to like 2 or 3 people who show up because it's winter, and some people thought they'd take a break, but I knew if I took a break, I'd be in worse shape than I am right now. This is the hardest time of year for me.
Me too.
And I'm really glad that I just kept going with it. And I have some really nice friends in the mix too, so that I didn't have before. Gotten to know some, really nice people, and they're all nice people in Walla Walla. So
Melanie, you're still walking on Thursday then?
no, I switched to Wednesday because
Okay.
there was this awesome yoga class through Quest that I wanted to get in on. So I switched to Wednesday. Yeah.
At the cemetery?
No, well, we meet at the Grange, which is at the corner of Prospect
we've been
and Second.
Okay.
No, Prospect and Howard. Prospect and right across from Prospect Point Elementary School, there's a Grange, an old white building, and that's where we're meeting now, because sometimes we'll walk down Prospect, which has a really nice wide sidewalk, and when it gets icy and snowy or wind blowing, we thought, well, the cemetery might not be good footing sometimes, but the sidewalk would be clear. So we've I think there was one time I did cancel because it was just too hard. I didn't want to, and nobody really wanted to go out, but we've gone every other Wednesday morning, and it's at 9 o'clock,
Okay.
9 to 10. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will vouch, she's an amazing leader of a group. And not only that, being here, being new here, it was so great to learn the history, you know, it in the cemetery, which led me to find Quest, which led me to take another class from Quest in the cemetery. So it just opened up a whole new world for us. Thank you.
Great.
Well, I think Walla Walla, even before the Blue Zones, had so many things going for it that that it just makes it even better. You know, the Seventh-day Adventist community that's so into nutrition, all the biking trails that are already, I mean, lanes that are already on the roads, just all kinds of things that that help us become a blue zone area. And plus, I think it's destiny because we've got the Blue Mountains and we just got to be part of the blue zones.
It was one of the first meetings that I had when I came to Walla Walla. It was on, there was this planning effort. I don't know if anybody remembers it. Oh, there's somebody in the waiting room. Hello, Heather. That was called the Blue Mountain Region Trails Plan, and they were working on creating additional trails, you know, and connectedness. And we were sitting there, and somebody says, "Oh, we should call it the Blue Zones." And I was like, "Wait, oh, that's something. We can't call it that. That's trademarked." And so, but then they were like, "Well, we should be one." And I was like, "I concur. I think we probably could have even been a model community, possibly." I don't know if we have like what their threshold for number of centenarians was necessarily, but I think that some of the work that we've been doing has been so natural to Walla Walla and College Place, because we already have something I say a lot. We already have all the ingredients here in Walla Walla. We just have to kind of put them together and find the right recipe. Go ahead, Melanie.
So I'm curious, what are the benchmarks? What will certify us? What do we need? What do we need to do? How will we know when we break the ribbon and go through the finish line and keep on going?
Oh goodness, let me tell you. Yeah, so we have in our 3 areas: people, places, and policy. We have very specific goals within each of those. And so Rebecca is our people lead. Rebecca, would you like to share what your goal is to achieve by the end of our project, which is 3 years?
Yes. But before I do that, Melanie, are you guys meeting at 9 a.m. at the Grange? Okay, on Wednesdays. Okay, William. So if you want to walk next Wednesday, 9 a.m. at the Grange. So we've just made a connection. Okay, so that's super exciting. And you're super lucky because Melanie's amazing. And William, I bet you are too. Okay, so my goal is, what I need to do is engage 15% of the population, individuals in Walla Walla and College Place. And so just to give you an example of that number, for 2022, it's my goal to engage 3,500 people. And that's just for 2022. So that's the work that we're doing, is just making sure that we're getting people involved in community activities, whether it's volunteering, whether it's moving naturally, whether it's eating wisely at restaurants or potlucks, whether it's finding your purpose and then contributing back to your community. So that's my goal. So there will be so many events, so many things going on. And I just also want to say that everything we do is free and open to the public. Nothing that we do will cost a community member anything. And so that's what I'm doing currently. And it's the best job in the whole world. It's wonderful.
If anything, you'll get to come and have probably a free lunch and maybe take away a great water bottle. We actually have some purpose workshops coming up next week, both in person at Sunbridge on Tuesday and virtual next Thursday from 6 to 8 online. And they are so much fun. I really encourage you all to participate in a purpose workshop. I saw Karen, did you have something to say?
Yeah, so how do you get your count from when people sign up on those? Okay, so what, is there a specific age group that can sign up or what?
Well, our goal is like adults, and so kind of we're looking at like 15 and over, but and so just because they're more have more, I think, autonomy over their decision making a little bit. I don't know if every 15-year-old does, but but that's what because Blue Zones Project it's a model, right, that we have been able to localize to Walla Walla and College Place. And so so they have some specific goals and metrics that they want us to track to. And so Rebecca just talked about our people metric. We also have goals for our places. And so schools, our goal is to have 7 schools approved as Blue Zones Project approved schools, to have 10 of our largest work sites, to have 2 of our grocery stores, but we're going to have more than that, and to have 10 of our restaurants approved as Blue Zones approved restaurants. And we have a checklist and matrix for each of those approval processes that Katie DePonte, our organization lead, works as a pretty much a free consultant to any organization that wants to make healthy, like what Blue Zones Project is all about. And like Rebecca was talking about this with the kitchen makeover, is making healthy choices easier. And if Rebecca's kitchen wasn't available, my kitchen would be available, and maybe everybody's here, but it's about making healthy choices the default choice, right? So you actually have to actively make an unhealthy choice. So that's what we're really working on. And then for policy, and Beth here on the call is actually the mom of our policy advocate, Emily Brown. Emily works in the 3 policy areas: built environment, food policy, and tobacco policy. And she has specific goals within each of those to pass so many policies at the city or county level, or even organization level for a built environment. For food, the same. Our goal is to pass 2 food policies a year. So 6 total per community, Walla Walla and College Place. And then to pass 5 total tobacco policies as well, all with the goal of, making it so that those overarching policies, and I'm just looking, we have 2 minutes left in our time, that those overarching policies make it so that there's a trickle down effect that will make healthy choices easier when we're boots on the ground, or where you're at, just everything. When you're if you want to ride your bike to work, that there's a designated bike route that's labeled, or that, when you're going to a park, that, there's enforced tobacco free. It's an enforced tobacco free zone for yourself and your kids, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different things. I'm almost thinking we should probably do a talk just on our specific 3 areas, to dig deeper, because I think a lot of people are really interested, and then they're also interested in how they can maybe get involved as well. And so to either help with it or volunteer or something else. But I'm so glad that you asked how we were kind of tracking. And by the time we get all of those things approved, then Walla Walla and College Place, the Walla Walla Valley, would become what's called a Blue Zones certified community. And that is something that will last us a lifetime. But our goal is that we embed well-being, lifestyle habits, and culture within the nexus of the Walla Walla Valley. So
and we'll be living to 100.
And we'll be living to 100. Exactly. We'll be the Mecca. Go ahead, Melanie. Oh, I can't hear you. They say that it was the 2020 thing, you're on mute. I think it's 2021 and 2022 too.
So you referenced Rebecca's goals for 2022. And you said there were 3 years. So when did it start? Was it 2021? Are we right in the middle?
Yeah, we started in June of 2021. And so Rebecca has pretty much the same goal every year. She, of course, wants to exceed it because she's an overachiever. But our goal for the whole project, though, is to engage 15% of the total population of Walla Walla in College Place in Blue Zones project programs and activities. This is one of them, to learn about Blue Zones projects, and learn about well-being programming that you can get involved in. And so that's where you see why our events page is so full. And we also she works really closely with Katie, our organization lead, to do these programs within work sites and stuff too. But with that, just respecting time, I'm going to hand it back over to Twyla to close us out. We're so glad and grateful for the conversation today. Oh, Rebecca, is she unmuted? There we go.
Thank you. I'm unmuted. Thank you, Megan. Well, I've read the cookbook extensively, but the presentation added a lot to some things that I either didn't pay attention to or didn't know. And now I want to go to Sardinia, because not that I want to live to 100, but I'd really like, it looks lovely. I'd really like to go visit. So thank you for that. That was fantastic. I'd like to thank Inez Vargas for the Spanish interpretation tonight and monitoring that. Thank you, Megan and Rebecca, for the presentation. And then I'd like to thank our library support staff, Lindsay, for participating and helping with the event this evening and being here. And then Annie. Annie is not with us, but she also helped with this Blue Zones project quite a bit too. So that's our library support staff. And I'd like to say thank you to all the participants. It's really nice to see your faces, and the comments were fantastic. And so just part of healthy living and getting out and being part of community, that's what the Walla Walla Public Library can provide for you. So please remember to come in with your library card. If you don't have one, come in and we can get you set up with one. And the cookbooks are all available. We put 20 out a couple of days ago, and they're already halfway checked out. So we only have 10 left. So they're really being checked out by the public, and that's nice to see. Thank you for partnering. And we talked about t-shirts. So let's a reminder for t-shirts. So everybody who participates can come in and pick up a Blue Zones t-shirt here at the public library. And if you forgot to add your size with your name when you logged in tonight and signed up, you can do that in the chat box now with your full name. Put your size for your t-shirt down, and you can come in and pick those up at the library. And just a brief thing about future events. So the public library is partnering again with the Blue Zones project on the 24th for the cooking class. That will be a Zoom event that you can come in and participate with online, and we'll offer another drawing for a second free cookbook. And I have a second crockpot here, Hamilton Beach crockpot, to give away as well. The library will be giving away. And then in March, watch out on our calendar for the launch of the public library seed, our seed library. We give away garden seeds, and that'll be early spring. We're trying to get that launched the first week of March to kind of follow up with healthy living and planting a nice garden. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, everybody have a great night. Please do put your sizes in so we can get a cool t-shirt that you wear around. I had somebody come up to me the other day saying, hey, and Rebecca said this too, you're the Blue Zone lady. I want a t-shirt. I'm like, hey, come participate in one of our events and I'll get you one. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope you have a really great night. And we hope to see you at maybe one of our other events here soon. And once we start to do some things in person, like launch some walking moais and things, we hope to see you at some of those as well. So
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great day or evening.
Evening.
Oh, gosh.
Good night. Thank you so much.